Okay. Okairi, welcome back to my channel, Made Between the Pages. My name is Taylor, and today we have another episode of Page Chewing for you guys. We have two very special guests who I have known for quite some time, basically since the beginning of Booktube, but surprisingly, we talk more behind the scenes. Like, I don't think we've done a bunch of live stuff together, really. So I'm excited to finally have my co-host Steve meet these other wonderful booktubers. So if you guys don't mind, maybe we could just go, maybe start with, I always do the wrong direction. Start with Sophia and then go to Tammie. If you wouldn't mind, just a little self intro, who you are and what you do in this space. No pressure.
Hi, my name is Sophia. I run the channel called Fantasy Book Addict, where we mostly talk about adult fantasy, but I do occasionally talk about other genres and other age groups.
I thought you said we, as if it's not just you.
What about you, Tammie?
My name is Tammie from the channel Tammie Tries to Read. I also mostly read fantasy. I feel like we all do. That's how we kind of became friends. But I also read some other stuff as well. Getting more into translated works and like more literary fiction as well.
The big brain stuff
era.
Yeah, okay. The big brain stuff.
I'm going back to my literary fiction days. When I was 13, I was like, this is all I'm going to read. I'm never going to read another children's book again.
Who needs that, right?
Who
and then middle grade.
Books?
And then in your late 20s, early 30s, you're like, middle grade, where have you been?
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like reading all the books that I never read growing up because I was too stuck up and like pretentious.
We just have some comments coming in. Hi, Yanni. Hello. And hi, Esme. Hello. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, Steve was a horror reader, right? Before he got on here.
Yeah, and that I still read horror now and then, but it's a lot of fantasy. When you're reading a 600-page fantasy book, it's hard to do a whole lot more than that sometimes. So
I feel like there's so much overlap between horror and like fantasy though. Like it's all in my head, it's all under the speculative like umbrella. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. We got him in there. And you know what we got him to read, Tammie?
Dandelion Dynasty?
Yes!
Yes! Sophia too! We got Sophia too!
Yes, we got them both.
Literally, listen. Oh that series is my life, okay?
Yep. Right?
But like the thing is, like for me, I was so nervous to read it because like I heard Taylor, Tammie, Lena, Katie, like everybody was just like, oh, this is great. This is the best thing ever. And I'm just like, I'm going to read it. Like the FOMO is real. And then Tammie was like, oh, I don't know if you're gonna like this, like, because I think it was Upon a Burning Throne.
Yes,
I didn't.
That's my reason. Yeah, because I read Grace of Kings in 2020, and then I read Upon a Burning Throne like May-ish 2021, and I was like, when I had read Upon a Burning Throne, I was like, this is giving me those Grace of Kings feels, and it's written in a very similar way in which it's like third person omniscient and that kind of like storytelling style. And then I was like, Sophia, I don't know if you didn't like Upon a Burning Throne. I don't know if you'll like Grace of Kings, because I always recommend them in tandem. Like I always say, if you like Dandelion Dynasty, I think you'll like Upon a Burning Throne. It is smaller scale, I think, slightly, just because the series got cut short. We're not going to talk about it. It's fine. But like, as it stands, it's a smaller scale series.
I think
but with the same kind of vibes, right?
With the same kind of vibes, like same kind of like tropes as well, like with the meddling gods and like the royal family drama kind of situation.
But the thing is, I like the characters in Dandelion Dynasty, especially in the second book. They're all unhinged, and I'm just like,
that's a word. That's a word you could use. Yes.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh my god! I'm just like, girl.
She's my ultimate unhinged MILF.
I love her.
You'll know exactly
yeah,
why those words work when you get into it. You will.
It gets worse. Once you get to the Veiled Throne, you're like, oh, she's really a MILF, and she's also really unhinged.
She's out there. She's out there. Yes, Yanni. Yeah, you were the first people I heard talk about it. You, Tammie, and Lena were the ones who got me onto it before it was cool. But
now it's cool.
You had to be unhinged. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've read some really darker stuff that you've kind of convinced me to like dip my toe into. I haven't yet, but R. Scott Bakker,
mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
That's one that you've read a lot of.
I thought
Talk
that
about
was
unhinged,
dark.
right?
I thought that was dark until I read Anna Smith Sparks' Empires of Dust.
That
was
really? Really? What kind of like themes does it work with?
It's like family history. It's like fate and destiny. Like whether it's you have control over what but there are some battle scenes in it, and some of the violence is in some fantasy books the violence is really out there. It's really like it's with powers or it's but in this book it gets really ground level, and she has beautiful writing, and it just that combined with the violence is I had to take a little break after the last book.
If it makes you take a break, I'm a tread with caution. But we also had a comment from Esme. I almost started Upon a Burning Throne this month, but then I didn't. Now I'm going to prioritize it, though. Yeah. Yes. Well, Esme's taste is just...
I also think the audiobook is like... It's really grown on me. At first, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, because it's one of the narrators from... What's that book?
I see Sophia.
It's one of the narrators from Rune of Kings, and I hated Rune of Kings. And at first I was like, I think it's because I hated the audiobook, but then also I just hated the book. And then and then Upon a Burning Throne, that series I've been listening to on audio, like on rereads, and also like hybrid read when I first read it. And like I was like, actually, I quite like this narrator. It's I wouldn't say I like it, but like it's not as bad as Michael Kramer, that's for sure.
I
like Michael Kramer.
I am not a fan. That man needs to learn how to enunciate. Like I can't. He just like mumbles a lot, and then like randomly like is really dramatic in some moments for no reason. And I'm like, he's really dramatic when he says people's names, which really bothers me.
Isn't he the Brandon Sanderson guy?
He is the Brandon Sanderson guy.
He is. He's the Sando guy.
He also does the Dandelion Dynasty.
He does a lot of like a lot of the big SFF.
The biggies. Yeah. So we had initially came up with a question that we wanted to ask you guys, because this is one of the first page chewings, I think, where all of us are booktubers. Unfortunately, PL couldn't make it today. He really wanted to be here, but things came up. So this is the first one where all booktubers. So we wanted to ask a question specifically about the tubes, which is, how has this space affected your reading? And it could be, what books you read, or how fast you read, or what's on your radar, just anything that comes to your mind where it's changed it. Because for me, I actually made a video, I think it was last year maybe, about how Booktube has changed my reading. And in the process of making that video, I realized how drastic the change was, right? So we already talked about the fact that the fantasy group, we got Steve, so that kind of changed him in that regard. But for you guys, does anything come to mind that this space has changed for you?
It's changed for me in both good and bad ways. I think because I'm reviewing books for an audience, it's made me a lot more critical of the books I read. So like before, I would just be like, yeah, this is a 5-star and this is a 5-star. And I wouldn't be able to discuss in detail like why the book made me feel a certain way. But I feel like now that I'm on Booktube, it's given me like the language to be able to discuss the different aspects of literature and, get my complex thoughts down in a better way. Is it the best? No. There are people that do a better job of reviewing, but I feel like I've gotten better. It's also made me more aware of authors of color. So before, I used to be one of those people that I'm just like, whatever I see off the shelf, I'm just going to pick it up and I'm just going to read it. Like, I don't care. But especially being on Twitter and seeing authors have conversations about issues facing BIPOC authors within the publishing industry, that has made me want to go out of my way and pick up more books by authors of color and uplift their voices.
Yes. Solid points. Solid.
Very well said.
Yeah. What about you, Tammie?
I feel like it's changed everything for me because like it's also like I didn't really watch Booktube before I started Booktube. So I think that's another thing because like I know Sophia, you watched Booktube before you started Booktube, right?
Yeah.
Because like for me, it's like I feel like if I had started watching Booktube before I started Booktube, I don't think the change would have been as drastic because like I would have at least gotten recommendations and like, you know, gotten the books and stuff. But prior to starting Booktube, I hadn't read for like too many years. I don't even want to say how many years. Like close to 10 years. Like I think over the course of like between high school, like graduating high school and then like when I started Booktube in 2020, I think I total those like 8 years or 9 years or whatever, read maybe like 30 books over those many years. Whereas like now I'm at like I read like 100 books a year. It's very drastically changed how much I read. Because like in my head, I'm like also like need to make content, so I gotta read. But also I think the biggest change for me is audiobooks because like my listening comprehension is not very good at all. So I just like never read audiobooks because like I could never understand them. But then I think discovering that you can change the speed was a game changer for me. And then also just like because I felt like I needed to read more, and then audiobooks enable you to like read in times like when you're driving or whatever, where you normally wouldn't be able to read. And so like I just felt like I needed to read audiobooks to get my numbers up at the beginning. But then now like I love audiobooks now. But like at the beginning, that's kind of how I got into audiobooks. And I think audiobooks are one of the big things that like being on Booktube has like made me read more, and it's also helped with my listening comprehension, which is like a great thing because I suck at it.
Practicing while having fun, right?
Exactly.
That.
What speed do you normally listen at on your when you listen to audiobooks?
Now I'm like a 1.75 to 2 times. That's kind of like my happy medium. Because I find 1 time's like so slow. I literally like that's the speed where I'm like I can't understand a single word. Like these are just words, a string of words, but they're not like they don't form a sentence. They don't form a coherent like idea in my head.
Yeah. That's interesting because in a previous conversation, it might have been with Ryan Cahill actually, where this came up, but it was Ryan. Okay, so for me as well, I also watch YouTube on 2 times speed.
Same.
So I've done
I'm
this
so sorry
to myself.
To everyone for your watch hours.
Like no, but if people say they don't do it and yet they keep up with everyone, I don't know how they're doing it. Let's just put it that way.
There's no way.
So I fully have the knowledge that I've done this to myself, but I cannot listen to even podcasts now below 1.75.
I was gonna say podcasts on Spotify, you can now speed up the speed too, and so now I can listen to podcasts, and I'm like, wow, what a world out there,
right?
Content.
Right, that I can fit in, right? But it's funny because for us, we're thinking about getting through what we want to listen to, right? But a perspective that I had never thought of, but didn't occur to me was so strong, was for Ryan as an author, he's like, I know how hard my audiobook narrator worked. And he's like, the tone of the narrator changes and the way they say names changes. And so he says, for me, when I'm listening to audiobooks, I have to do 1 times speed because I have that perspective as like an author, and I need to hear it the way that they intended it.
I'm going to counter this because I actually hate this. I see it all the time. You have like audiobook narrators saying this all the time, and I actually hate it. Like I think Kate Redding and Michael Kramer also like said the same thing, and they're like, if you listen to it on anything other than 1 time speed, then you're like disrespecting the art of audiobook narrating. And I'm like, stop, please stop. Like Like,
but why
me,
though?
For me, it's like, I think a lot of audiobook narrators speak slowly, like more slowly on purpose, in order for people to understand who need it to be like read to them more slowly. And so at one time speed, like that is not the speed a normal person, like an average person talks. Like that is slower than average. And second of all, like a lot of people, like for me at one time speed, those words mean nothing to me. And so like to say that I'm disrespecting the art of like audiobook narrator just because I listen to it on a faster speed, I think that's like a ridiculous argument. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I think
you're still getting paid. You're still getting paid the same amount of money. Like, I'm still paying you for your product. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I just feel like it's a silly argument. Like, I understand the perspective where you're like, oh, I wish people listened to it. But I also don't, because I don't get offended when people watch my videos on 2x speed. So, like, I'm not like, I intended for this video to be 1x speed. And so, like, I don't know. Like, it's a weird argument to me.
I think when he was saying it was less like like other people are disrespecting, but more like he can't because
that's
he's
fair.
in that mind space, you know. So
that's
he's
fair.
like he's saying,
yeah,
I don't understand how other people do it was what he was saying. Because for him, he's like, I can't.
If as a consumer he's like, this is how I like to consume it, that's totally fine. It's for me, it's like when audiobook narrators make this argument, I'm just like, please let it go. Just let it go.
Yeah. Well, that'll be a debate for the ages. Let people sound off on that in the comments. I wanted to make sure that I put this up while we were up. Hi, Lana. Thank you for staying up. A couple. Being aware of what books are coming out makes you excited to read all the time. That's a big one.
I used to never know what new releases, like, I never paid attention to when a book was coming out. I was like, if I go to the bookstore and it's there, cool.
Great.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, like the hype train people have for books. I was not aware of that at all before.
FOMO is real.
It will. It gets you to do things that you wouldn't otherwise, you know?
Like, there are books that I've read that I would have never even looked at, where I'm just like, I need to know what's going on.
Right?
Same.
Was one of those Ice Planet Barbarians by any chance?
Listen, I'm not gonna lie, I almost bought that once in store because it was on sale, and I was like, the new cover is nice.
It's
okay,
so
I'm sorry, it's so pretty. And I was like, do I buy this? And then I was like, no.
So I don't know if you're aware, Steve, but over on the Tic Tac, there was an author that wrote she wrote a basically blue alien smut, and it took off and blew up, and now it's like, I think it's trad published, right, at this point.
It's been republished. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm telling you, those new covers are doing everything. They're doing everything for them.
The covers are better than the actual book. Like the new cover.
That's what I assumed, and I was like, I can't just buy this book for the
cover. Like, here's the thing. I was in a reading smut. I was
Freudian slip.
I needed something fun, quick, and easy. And I started the second book, but I only got halfway.
I've heard they get like worse and worse.
Oh, then I'm gonna stop at the second book then.
Yeah, just leave it. Wait, there was a second? I didn't even know that.
No, there's 10 or something. There's like so many.
Really?
It's like a whole saga.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I know that just came to my mind as one of those books where I was like, I know people that don't even read romance, and they were like, I'm gonna try this, because you see it for the first time on your feed and you're like, interesting. Yeah. And then you see it for the second time, you're like, wow, it seems to be popular. And then by the 10th time, you're like, well, what am I missing? I must be missing something,
I feel like the thing with that series is that, like, I don't necessarily trust romance booktubers because, like, I know my taste. It's not what romance booktube is into. Like, it's just not. But then you see, like, fantasy booktubers read Ice Planet Barbarians, who, like, I normally trust their taste, and I'm like, mayhaps there's some world building to be had here.
Somewhere in there. Somewhere in the corner, if you look for it, you might be able to find it. We had a couple comments back here about speeds that I wanted to put up. Where to go? Yanni said, you still hear all those changes in tones, etc., because your brain has adjusted to that speed, which makes sense. You know, if you're listening on 3 times speed. The slower the audiobook speed, the more distracted I become. Yeah, makes sense too. Lana says, I immersion read and read faster than them speaking, and it's frustrating if I don't speed it up.
Yeah, if I'm hybrid reading, I'll be at like 3 times.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point, is hybrid reading or immersion reading is a whole new experience, because I'm terrible with names of characters and people in real life, so I can't remember any audiobook narrators, but whoever narrated Daughter of the Moon Goddess, her voice
Natalie
is like
Naudis.
silk. It's like silk.
Natalie Naudis, one of my favorites.
Yeah, and so that was the first book I immersion read, and I was like, this is a new experience for me. Like I felt like I was in the world, you know?
I also think Daughter of the Moon Goddess is one of her best works. And I've read a lot of I've read a lot of audiobooks by her, just because she also reads a lot of romance ones and a lot of like sapphic romances and a lot of like the Asian authored romances. So I like read a lot of Natalie Naudis romances on audio. But like Daughter of the Moon Goddess is like peak.
I mean, Daughter of the Moon Goddess is not for you, Steve. I'm just gonna put it out there. It's not your cup of tea.
It's perfection. It's perfection.
It's so good. It's my favorite.
I also adore it. 5 stars. But have you ever immersion read a book, Steve?
You know, I tried, but I tried with Malazan, so it may have been not the best choice, because I was trying to immersion read and I was already confused to begin with, and it made it worse. So I just gave up. So I want to try again, because I hear that it really helps. I just haven't tried it again yet.
I find that it only helps if like if the audiobook narrator pronounces the names the same way that my brain would pronounce it. So if I in my head mispronounce names, I can't do an immersion read. Like I can't course correct in my head. Like I know, like I actively know that I am pronouncing it wrong. Like I know it, but like I can't fix it. I can't fix it. I was rereading the Heroes of Olympus series, and I started like hybrid reading it, because like The Lost Hero, if you've ever read it, The Lost Hero is not good. It's not good. And then I was hybrid reading it, and he pronounces like Greek names probably the way they're supposed to be pronounced, but like in my head, that's not how they're pronounced. It's not Hera, it's Hera. Like
right.
And so I'm like, I can't do this. I got to read it physically.
Yeah. I think Malazan would be confusing either way. I don't know, Tammie and Sophia, if you've seen Steve talk about it, but he's doing a group read for Malazan. So they're taking a break at the moment, but all of them were...
I've always pronounced it as Malazan.
Same, but I like...
Look, I have no idea which
that
one
I know is not pronounced Malazan, and I still do it.
My brain can't course correct.
I'm telling you, I'd never be able to do an audiobook of that, because I can't.
But like, I heard that series is just hella confusing, and I'm just like, have fun with that.
Yeah, I think we're going to like a part a month instead of like a book a month. We're going to like a section, like a third of a book a month. So we're going really slow. So yes, it's confusing.
That's the thing. I'm like, I feel like it's one of those series where everyone's like, if you can get to the end, if you can get through it, it's like the best series ever, like the most intricate world building. And I'm like, I want that feeling, but I'm also like, that's a lot of books.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pages.
You're not alone.
That's like 11,000 pages to get there.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Ooh, man. Yeah. Just going back to some of our previous comments, Lana said, I still depend on Booktube to tell me what's coming out. I don't have the time to research. Yeah, reasonable. Reasonable. But Esme says, but also author or cover recognition because of Booktube. Like, I didn't know who the hell Sanderson was before joining Booktube. Yeah. And he was heralded as a saint when I first started watching. Yeah. I think that's a good thing to keep in mind, too, is like we feel like these people are giants. But until Sanderson's Kickstarter and stuff like that, like he was not. My real life friends were like, Sando who? Like, what are you talking about? You know?
I feel like in general, fantasy in like the general public is not, it's still considered like a niche genre. like because it's shelved separately, because it's not considered general fiction. But it's like that's like a whole other conversation, because you do have books in general fiction that are like speculative that you could reasonably call fantasy and yet somehow are not. But anyway, that was just something to the side. But yeah, I think fantasy in general, especially like high fantasy and like fantasy tomes, like a lot of people just don't gravitate towards that.
They find it also intimidating.
Yeah.
And like, because I'm in academia and I'm doing creative writing, and so oftentimes fantasy is actually looked down upon versus literary fiction, where it's like more praise. Like, this is real fiction, this is real artistry, and I'm just like, fantasy is just as good.
One of the first tags I ever made was get to know the fantasy booktuber, and one of the questions is like, what do you want to tell people about fantasy? And I went on a rant in that video where I was like, excuse all of you for who say it's not the same, because I was like, what do you think Macbeth is? It's fantasy, okay? You got, all of Shakespeare's works, there's witches cackling over a cauldron. If that's not fantasy, I don't know what is, so I don't know. It seems like a juggernaut in this realm, in this space, but then there's still some stigma attached to it, I think, outside of it.
I mean, I've always said this, but like all the people I know in real life who only read like self-help books and like memoirs, and I'm just like, this is not the vibe.
I was gonna not say it, but how to make friends and influence people, right?
The 7 habits of highly effective people, and I'm like, I don't want to be highly effective, okay?
They definitely have their space. Those books definitely have their space, but I definitely agree that like the people who read in this online space and then the people who read outside of it, it's completely different world. Let's see. I feel so, Yanni says, I feel so jealous of people who can hybrid read because my brain rejects that whole idea. Yeah. I hadn't tried it before.
Yeah, so. It took me a few minutes. I just couldn't really get into a flow with it. So I think I have to try it more, but I can definitely relate to the comment. Yeah. It just felt weird, but.
Lana says, Yanni, I can't listen to fantasy audiobooks without reading at least the first 20%. I need to read and understand the world building, etc., and characters. Otherwise, my head says no.
I sometimes do this. To me. Yeah. If I have the physical, I'll sometimes do this.
Audiobook narrators aren't always correct in pronunciation.
Don't get me started.
Like, Yeah.
Tammie recently read a book and she messaged me and she was just like, she's mispronouncing
her again. It's always her. It's okay. So I actually really like her narration in general, but Jonice Abbott-Pratt did she did Raybearer, and I think she does Legendborn too. But she also did Blood Like Magic, which I read the duology recently, and she just mispronounces words and like city names and like as in like actual cities. So like she mispronounces like my city name wrong, and I'm just like, unacceptable.
That is kind of, because I would imagine in my head when Yanni said that they don't pronounce them correctly, I was thinking like names or something. But if it's actual real world countries, that's pretty.
In Raybearer,
someone run this through a check,
Oh my gosh! So like in Raybearer, she uses the word Eong as one of the characters, as like one of the names, and I didn't know that like the country where those people, I didn't know it was inspired by like Korean culture, and then like I read it physically and it was like Hyung, and I was like, oh, that's what she meant. And so like when it came to like African names, like she was fine. But when it came to like outside of that culture, she was butchering them left and right.
Really? Oh man.
And I just like I can't get over the fact that Raybearer includes a pronunciation guide in the actual book. So I'm like, why are you disrespecting the author like this? Like the author took the time to put in a pronunciation guide and you couldn't even follow it? Like,
it was bad.
Make it make sense.
That's interesting to me though, that because it's an official product, right? So you'd think it would run through some edits, like that.
I don't think people pay attention enough.
And then Sharon J. Zhao recently had a situation where she talked about it. They talked about it on Twitter, how it was hard for them to find like a Chinese audiobook narrator. Because I think they got somebody, I think they got like a Japanese person to narrate it. And the
sounds are so different in those two languages. Yeah. There's no way.
So like the Chinese in the book was completely butchered.
I think they had to redo the entire audiobook with a different narrator.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Honestly, this is one of the reasons why I respect Natalie Naudis so much as a narrator, because she I think she's quite big on like TikTok. But she posted a video and she like cross-posted it to Twitter, which is where I saw it. But she talks about how like when she narrates, because people asked her like, when do you pronounce Chinese words with an American accent versus like the correct pronunciation? And she says, this is my general rule of thumb. If the character in the book would pronounce it with an American accent, that's how I pronounce it. And if the character would not mispronounce it and they would say it with a Chinese accent, I would do that. And I'm like,
that makes sense. Definitely
round of applause.
Yeah, I mean, a tonal language like Chinese versus a non-tonal language, that's asking the impossible. I started my Malazan read this month. It's amazing, but 600 characters to keep track of. It's a lot.
Yes, and it changes POV in, like 3 times in a paragraph. It is, it's.
I think this is a reread.
I mean, I kind of like that though. I feel like not enough books are written in that way anymore.
What are you, 60? When I was young.
No, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like POV switching between paragraphs or like in the same paragraph was quite common. If you read like classics, it's like very common there. But like now we're so, especially in fantasy, like we're so fixated on like this chapter is this POV, or like the entire book is in one singular POV. Like we don't get enough of the POV switching anymore. Back in my day.
I think this was a discussion that maybe Steve brought up actually when you said that you were going through Malazan, is it made you confront the fact that you want to know things right away. Like waiting to know something is something we don't, besides a mystery, right? If there's a big mystery being solved, but waiting to know who this POV is or waiting to know what the significance of this is was a challenge, I think you had mentioned, right? When you were reading it.
Yeah, definitely, because you kind of get dropped in the middle of everything happening and you don't have context for what happened before or what anyone's goals are. So it is just you just have to let go of that desire to know what's happening. You just have to just try and enjoy the ride. So it is it took me a while, and it was a good experience for me with my reading habits.
Yeah. Yeah, that, instant gratification society, gotta get it right away.
The exact same way. Like for me, it's something, if I see something going on or because like sometimes the author will be like, oh, this traumatic thing happened and you don't know what it is and you're trying to figure it out. I'm just like, I need to know right now. Like, tell me, please.
I love waiting for a good payoff. Like Harrow the Ninth. You gotta wait like 80% of the book until you know what's happening.
I used to be one of those people that would like read the back of the book.
Stop. We are no longer friends.
I don't do it now, but like
I do it
back in the day.
Listen, if I get bored of a section of the book, I will skip ahead like 50 pages or so and read a little bit and see if it's worth my time. And then I'll continue reading if it is. And if not, if I'm not interested in the next 50 pages, then I'm like, DNF.
That's smart.
You and my mom need to be best friends because you talk about non-linear stories. My mom makes every story non-linear because she's like, let me jump to the middle, the end, the beginning. When I read in the same room as her, she triggers me. Like I can't read in the same room as my mom because she just skips and I'm like, woman.
Here's the thing. If it's a good story, it will be a good story no matter what order you read it in. Sometimes.
I'm gonna have to stop you there. Esme said,
"Did you see the stat yesterday? There was an article that came out that Colleen Hoover has now sold more copies of than the Bible.
Ain't no way,
right? Isn't that wild? Like, obviously not like collectively all of her books against the Bible. But like there are lots of versions of the Bible, I guess.
No way.
But yeah, apparently she sold more books this year than the Bible.
Damn.
Isn't that wild?
What TikTok has done for that woman, they have revolutionized, like given her books a renaissance like I have never seen before.
Literally.
Like I don't know if you've seen, Steve, what you watch outside of Booktube on YouTube, but there will randomly be like a lifestyle vlogger who has like a huge following on YouTube, and then they'll do like it's always Colleen Hoover, a Colleen Hoover reading vlog.
It's always
and it'll get like millions of views, and I'm like, where is this coming from? Apparently TikTok. I didn't know because I'm not on TikTok, but they blew her up again.
That's the same thing that happened to Ice Planet Barbarians. Like she wrote those books years ago and nobody was checking for them. It wasn't until TikTok blew it up and then people started reading them. Insane.
The power.
I can't. I was watching the documentary. It's like old now. Like I think it came out like last year or the year before, but it's called The Social Dilemma. Have any of you seen it on Netflix?
Yeah.
And like when you watch it in context of like what us being like booktubers and being in like the online community and like very online a lot of the times, it's like very frightening, quite frankly. Yeah.
I feel like that's something I should watch when I want to have an existential crisis, so I'll wait for that.
I haven't finished it yet, but it's like very interesting.
Thanks for stopping by. If you read lots of science fiction, they mess up scientific terms all the time. Oh, I would imagine. I
never read sci-fi on audio. Because like I feel like for me, again, because my listening comprehension is like very challenged. So like I just, if I need to use brain cells for a book, I tend to like to read it physically. And science fiction requires my brain cells.
I read Children of Time physically, and then I felt confident. And so then I read Children of Ruin audio by audiobook, and I was like, absolutely not. I listened to the first 2 chapters and was like, none of this is going in my brain. I actually slowed it down to 1 time speed too. I'm like, let me listen to this, the right way. And it was not going in. So I read it physically again because I can't do sci-fi.
I actually read it. I read both on Audible.
How, girl? You gotta get.
Sophia's so good with audiobooks, though. I feel.
Yeah, it's scary. I wish I could be better with reading physically, but like my brain just loves audiobooks.
And that's totally fine.
True.
Yeah.
We all go through phases, right? So, like, I had a really hard time picking up any books when I came back from the States because I just got out of the habit. It wasn't like that I didn't want to read, but also Korean dramas said, hello, we exist. So I was watching a bunch of those instead of reading, binging those. But it just took, I'm finally back in the habit. Steve is tickled by that, but it got me back in the habit. Yeah, the girlies were right. Let's just put it that way. But I finally got back in the habit. So I'm reading books now, but my wrap up is going to be like, these are the 2 books I read in the last 7 days of September, because I just haven't been able to get back into the habit until now. Yeah.
For me, it's so weird. So like I go through phases where like I'm super into reading. I'm reading 11 books, which is a lot for me. And then the next month I'll read 2 books. And then the month after that, I'm reading 5. And then the month after that, I'm reading 0. It's just like I can never consistently read. Like even if I want to, I just can't. This is why I don't upload. Because like I'm not reading enough to upload on a daily basis.
Right.
Well, I think it's good if you just don't feel like it, just don't do it. Because I think that the people who force themselves to do it end up burning out. And then it's another problem. So it's good that you can just not reading. Yeah. I've been guilty of that too, yeah.
Well, also, Steve, though, the number, obviously we do page chewing together, but like the number of group reads you do is mind blowing. You're constantly on a live somewhere. Like how, I'm just wondering, is it built into your schedule how you get all of those buddy reads done? Because Sophia and I, we were supposed to buddy read Children of Ruin. Where, when, how, we just read it separately and then said we're done, so I'm so bad at keeping up with those things. So I'm just wondering for you, what do you do?
I try and set them up every weekend, so then I have the week to read the book, and it keeps me accountable. So like Sophia had mentioned earlier, I have to, knowing that I have to discuss it with other people, it's another level above a review because I have to have something to add to the conversation. So I try to, and it's really helped me with my comprehension and understanding, and I always walk away from those discussions with a different perspective that I hadn't thought of before. So I always learn something from everyone during those discussions. So that's what I really love about them. But yeah, I try to spread them out. It doesn't always work out that way, but I try to keep them spread out.
Mm-hmm. The forum is booked.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at buddy reading. And like,
Same.
it's so funny. Like, I still keep offering to buddy read with people. Like, I know it will fail, but I still do it anyways.
It's one of my toxic traits. Like, I see someone post like that they hold a book that I'm vaguely interested in, and I'm like, buddy read?
Yeah.
And then I half expect them to say no, or like, yeah, sometime in the future. But then when they message me and they're like, hey, you want to read it now? And I'm like, sure.
So basically
Sure.
for you, let's buddy read is let's get coffee sometime. Like that is your let's get coffee sometime.
Listen, I've also fallen trapped to that once because like in college, there was this girl that I knew that was like one of the most sociable people I've ever known. And up until that point, every person that's like, let's get coffee has never followed up, right? But this girl, she followed up. And I actually had to have coffee with her, and it was the most awkward thing of my life because I was like, I don't know if we have anything in common. Like, this is so strange.
Everyone knows you don't actually text after that,
She didn't even bother texting. She was like, right then and there, she was like, coffee, great. How does tomorrow sound? And I was like, sure.
Oh my
man.
God. Actually caught.
I need a
really
week's notice to be social.
I really need it. I need to learn from my mistakes.
Oh, it's Chris. Hey, Chris.
Hi, Chris. What is this madness? If my mind wanders while reading a paragraph, it must be reread.
Yeah.
So I think he's referring to you and my mom just bopping all over books,
Yeah, I sometimes I'm exposing myself and I'm gonna get canceled for this, but sometimes like if I read a page, I'll just like read this paragraph and then I'll skip like to halfway down the page and then I'll go back up and like I'll just like skip across the
you're
page.
just all right.
The secrets are coming out.
You are.
I don't know, like in my head it makes sense to read that way, but I guess not.
As Maeve says, I'm with you.
I'm
Chris.
realizing now that it's not normal.
Well, I just have to mention really quickly, now that we're on the topic of buddy reads, that we are discussing the Dandelion Dynasty every month. So you've already read it, so low pressure.
Yeah.
And we are having
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks to Steve getting Ken Liu on page chewing, he has agreed to come to the 2nd and the 4th live. So after Wall of Storms and after Speaking Bones, he will be there for the discussion. So you guys are more than welcome to join.
Yeah.
You got the author to come?
Girl.
Fancy.
Celebrity.
Yeah.
Do you have your autograph?
No, it was Taylor's doing. Thankfully, Taylor was on that stream with me because she's much smarter than I am, and she could keep up with what Ken was saying. I was like a deer in the headlights with Ken Liu because he blew my mind, and I didn't know what to say. Yeah, he's crazy.
I'll be sure to send you guys the link if in your free time if you want to watch the page chewing because that man is brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that's a good shout out, Steve. Anyone in the comments also, you're more than welcome to join. Let's see. Same. Buddy read, FOMO, Israel. It's like, oh, me too. I think the worst one for me ever, buddy read fail, besides Sophia and I's just continuous, we're going to read and then we don't, would be with, oh my God, how am I blanking on her name right now? Oh my God, she's been my friend for ages. Sydney from the Sid Bookworm. she's blown up, but we started around the same time as well. And her and Darian and a couple other people were like reading Rachel from Let Me in the Library as well. They were all reading Priory of the Orange Tree. And that was, it just looked very up my alley in the beginning, and the cover was beautiful. So I was like, this is a safe buy for me. I'm going to buy this. And then for reasons I can't explain to this day, I never read it. So I had that on my shelf for 2 years. And they were like, we're doing a buddy read because we're in the same boat. And I was like, okay, who's the only one who didn't finish it? Everyone's like, I finished it. And I'm like, I'll read it tomorrow. And everyone was like, yeah, these are my star ratings. Still haven't finished it. And it's not against the book. I don't think it's bad. I just have like a mental block with that book. I don't know if you guys have books like that as well, where it's not the book's fault. It's not the book, it's me, truly, with that one. I don't know why.
No, I can't think of one for me. It's never my fault. It's always the book's fault.
I was just going to say that. I don't see how it's my fault. Also, Taylor, I thought you were going to say me and you with my year of meats.
Oh, that's another one. Oh my God. We advertised that too. We both put it in our TBRs. We were like, we're going to read. I have it right here, I think, somewhere down here. Hold on. Let me get my shame book out. Tammie and I's shame book. We bought this book. We bought it. And we were like, we're going to read it together.
That is a much nicer cover than mine.
Really?
Yeah.
I just got it from Book.
Mine's like really old, though. I bought it used.
Yeah. We advertised it, and then both of us were like, when should we start?
We had to like set a date and everything. We're gonna start it in January, and then just never happened.
Yeah.
By the way, January of last year, okay? Not this year.
Yeah, it's bad. It's very bad. Lana made a call out to Esme's reading speed, saying 11 books is a lot for anyone except Esme. Yes, Esme reads like normal people breathe. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I actually wish I read slower or less sometimes, but then I just end up blazing through a shit ton of books anyway without realizing it. It's a good problem to have. I wonder if being an only child helps me resist the majority of the FOMO. I don't need you all anyway, right? Usually, unless the folks I trust are absolutely dragging a book, I don't care that much about hype from the community. Yeah, that's a good place to be. Keeps you reading what you like, so. I try to be more focused during reading, so definitely need to set aside time. Audiobooks only if a short, fun book.
I do love a short audiobook, like the one that you can like just pop on, read in like one sitting. Chef's kiss, amazing. And then I feel accomplished, right? I'm like, I read a book today.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. What was I reading? The Murderbot series. I did do those via audio, and I was so used to long form. Steve, you're not a fan of Murderbot.
No, go ahead. I'll
Okay. Well, I was just surprised to see like a 3-hour time. I was like, wow, audiobooks can be this short, because I'm so used to fantasy
24 hours.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll never forget reading, what was it, Rhythm of War on audio, and it was like, because I had it on my Kobo app, which doesn't tell you like, once you pass 24 hours, it tells you in days, and so it was like, time 2 days. Or like 3 days or something, because it was like a 50-something hour audiobook, and then eventually it got down to 2 days, and I was like, hooray. Praise bless.
Oh my God. That's the worst counting metric ever.
Yeah, it's not good. I was like, why is it telling me I have 3 days left of this audiobook?
Jeez.
So Steve, do you wanna go after?
Yeah.
Do you wanna go spill some tea?
Tell us about Murderbot.
I tried the first book. I thought it was okay. I think I went in with too high of expectations because it was on the hype train at the time, but it wasn't for me. It just kind of goofy. It was just, I'm fine with humor in books, but when it keeps going back to the same punchline, it's okay.
Like I want to watch telenovelas essentially, or that was like the punchline for a lot of it. Yeah, that makes sense.
And just to mention, that book is like about like 100 pages. It's like $20.
Tor.com novellas. I can't.
Novellas are.
Oh, it's so offensive to me.
Yep. Even as someone, you guys know, I care about my books more than I should, how they look, right? Even for me, Tor.com novellas, I'm like, y'all are pushing me. You're
Especially when they only come out in hardback. And then they charge you $35 for that novella. And I'm like, excuse you?
Yep. I remember my first introduction to Tor.com novellas was the Wayward Children series. And, you know, before, I expected them to be in a box set or something, as most things are. And then when I was like, what do you mean I have to buy them individually for $30 each?
Insane.
They're this big.
But even the box sets are not cheaper because the Murderbot box set is extortionate.
But they're so cute. But they're so cute.
Are, but they're so expensive. Even the paperbacks, though, are expensive.
Pricey. I think I have a Peter Jelly Clark one. Yeah, I splurged on that one. But it's one of the books that I just open sometimes because I like to have it. You know, it just feels good.
I think the only novella of theirs I have is Embers of Salt and Fortune, which I think was a gift from you, Taylor.
Yeah, I think I got it from your wish list.
Yeah.
I was like, Tammie needs this physically. What is she doing reading this? You know.
Oh my gosh. I remember when Tammie first read it. It was her personality trait for the next 5 months.
And it's like, still my personality trait. I just don't advertise it as much. I still reread it on the regular.
Yep. Empress of Salt and Fortune is a novella. It's amazing. It is beautifully written. But yeah, it is Tammie. It's synonymous with Tammie.
Literally.
Just want to mention really quickly that I was checking All Systems Red, the first book in the Murderbot diary, is on Kindle Unlimited now.
Oh.
So just for anyone wanting to read it.
Interesting. Yeah. Actually, I think Tor.com must have put a bunch of things on Kindle Unlimited because someone said Gideon the Ninth is also on Kindle Unlimited. Which I thought was interesting because I was like, that's not one I ever expected to be on Kindle Unlimited.
That's a surprise.
Maybe it's a marketing move.
Yeah, because Nona just came out. Have you read Gideon, Taylor?
No, I haven't. And I don't really know why. It's not that maybe this is why. It gives me dark academia vibes for some reason. And I'm not a dark academia girly. I don't know why it gives me those vibes. I have no idea. But it just got in my brain, maybe, that I had that.
I have actually seen someone put it on a dark academia list. I don't agree with it, but
I get the vibes.
I can see why for Gideon, like the first book, because they're in like not a school setting, but they're like training to become like lictors, which are like ultimate necromancers, basically. So I can kind of see it, but it's like not really. It's just like if you like unhinged fun.
Okay, I'll give it a
There's
shot.
no one as unhinged as Tamsin Weir, in my opinion.
Really?
Like, so unhinged.
Okay, well, it's been on my radar for a while, and pretty much everyone I know loves it. So I just haven't picked it up. I don't know why.
It's like a top 5 series for me.
To look into it then.
It's so good.
My Amazon card's going to be full by the end of this conversation.
It always is.
If the first book is free on Kindle Unlimited, why not?
Right?
Very true.
You're not losing out on anything.
Lana says, I couldn't be in the same conversation as Ken Liu. I would just be starstruck and gaping like a fish. I'll be in the comments. Okay.
Yep.
We welcome you there. Yanni, you want a buddy read? Oh no. This is going to be set in stone now. Okay, let's do it. Let's buddy read it. Because if we both like it, Yanni and I disagree on everything. If she doesn't like a book, I'm going to like it. If she likes a book, I'm probably not going to like it. That's how that works. So if we both like it, that could be an interesting buddy read. I'm in. We'll message. Exact experience of priors. I'm not alone. Esme
I've
says,
heard more bad things about Priory than good things, to be quite honest with you.
really? She says, Priory's one of my
Sophia, have you read
faves.
No,
Yeah, have
okay. I was
don't
supposed.
you own it?
I do
Or did
actually.
you unhaul it? Oh, okay.
I unhauled it, but it's still in the house. I have to.
So you didn't unhaul it?
I have piles. Okay, like if you go into my living room, if you go into my living room, I have piles of books on top of each other that I've unhauled, and it's insane. Like I've unhauled them, but like I keep buying books, so like the house is just full of books. It's so bad. But I did like a reading vlog, and then Rue chose for me to read Legendborn and Priory, and I was like, baby girl, I was like, no, you reading one book, I don't have the brain cell for two. And then I just lost interest. Like that has been sitting on my TBR for like a year at least, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna get to it, and then I never do. And it's one of those situations where I'm just like, I think it's time to admit to myself,
it's not gonna happen.
Well, you might have a last chance, because Esme said she would love to reread it with me, and then Lana said, Esme, I'm down. And then, is Esme making a buddy read right now? Let's do it. Like, so I think we've got a buddy read going on. So you could have, a Hail Mary last chance.
I'm going to join the buddy read. Everybody's going to finish it. And I'll be like, wait.
I'm still on
You'll be
chapter
me
1.
last time. Me last time. Look at that. All right, so we'll have to make a group chat after with all, because all of us, I think, talk, but like disparately. So I'll try to do a Twitter chat after. But yeah, put a bunch of first in series on KU to rope people in. Makes sense.
Listen.
It's because she's keeping all
Listen, I would look. She is so fucking unhinged. I was like, I read Harrow and I was like, this is kind of really unhinged. And then I read Nona and I was like, she is off the charts. Like, this is wild.
My real life is a dark academia waiting to happen. Maybe that's why we don't agree on things. The vibes are off. And last one here about Gideon is I'm currently rereading Gideon on audio. Gave it 2.5 stars the first time around, but I think that was just wrong book, wrong time, because I'm loving it right now. I'm not Moira
Quirk. She's the audio narrator.
Is also just amazing.
The audio is good. I wasn't sure about it. I was kind of like, because I reread them on audio, like the first two, before Nona came out, and I was like, I don't know, like I'm not sold on this audiobook. But then I was reading Nona, and because I had it on e-arc, so I obviously didn't have the audiobook, and I was like reading it, and there were like certain lines that I would hear in her voice, and I was like, perhaps she is a good narrator.
Mayhaps.
Mayhaps. I don't want to admit it, but like mayhaps.
For me, I think the only narrator that I could not do was The Gilded Wolves, whoever narrated that book by Roshni Chakshi. That's the author of the book, but I don't know who the narrator was. But as soon as I started listening, I was like, this is...
I heard Emily Wu Zeller.
It's Emily Wu Zeller?
It's not.
Okay.
I was just like, just watch it, because for a really long time, like Emily Wu Zeller was like the go-to Asian narrator. It's not. It's someone called Lori Catherine Winkle and PJ Auckland. PJ Auckland, I've heard this name before.
I think it was the guy's voice that was when I turned it off and said, I'm going to read this physically.
He does the 3-body problem.
Oh, really?
Maybe not the first
physical
one.
Read, maybe.
Yeah. 3-body problem series. He doesn't do book 1, but he does the rest of them.
Okay. Well, it's good to know for me that I should be reading this. I mean, I would have to read this physically anyway. 3-body problem on my audio? Come on now.
Listen. In my head, I was like, I'm gonna read 3-body problem. I'm gonna be a sci-fi girly. But like,
my brain can only handle one sci-fi at a time. Like I could read fantasy back to back to back, but like I'll read one sci-fi and I'm like, great, that is great for the next 6 months.
Right.
And then I'm done.
It's like sci-fi battle scenes are very hard for me to keep up with. Like there's something about them and the way they're written. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just like in my head, it's just like pew 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 pew, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Well, you're reading The Expanse right now, Steve, right? I think.
Yeah, we're on book 4. So reading that with Chris Mohan, who's in the chat.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I haven't read it. I know Lana loves it. From Sufficiently Advanced Lena. She loves The Expanse, but she's a sci-fi girly.
She is very much a sci-fi girly.
She likes the pew pew, you know? So.
I like literary sci-fi. Like that's my kind of like the sci-fi that Lou writes. Okay, like that's
what you'll go for, right?
I don't think space opera isn't my jam. Because like I read Leviathan Wakes and I wasn't vibing with it, but like I read Children of Time and that deals with like a lot more complex themes and discussions.
Yeah, like the society.
Exactly. So I'm just like, you know, the pew pew pew, y'all can keep that.
Yeah.
Have fun. I'll be over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If it has a connection in that way, yeah, it helps me too. Moira Quirk is amazing, but I think I find it hard not to hear Escara. So he reads War Eternal. Really? Or she reads War Eternal. I didn't know that. I think I'm the only one who's read that here, right?
I don't know what that is.
War Eternal. Oh, so well, let me okay. Okay, well let me pull it, you know, the evidence. Along the Razor's Edge. You've heard me talk about this one, I think.
Is that what it is?
Bob Hayes?
So the series name is War Eternal. This is one of those books where like you're gonna read the first couple pages or first couple chapters and know if it's for you or not. It's a very distinctive narrative voice. She's unhinged and she's very angry, and you see it from page 1. So you're gonna know. But I didn't know that author, that narrator, read the audiobooks for these, but I love these books. But I did recommend it to someone and she was like, how many curse words need to be on one page? And I was like, yeah, I should have warned you. That was kind of the vibe of this book. So you know, you'll know if it's for you or not. But
I think we talked on Friday about that series. I think he went back and removed some of the curse words after hearing feedback.
Interesting.
So I think he went back and cleaned it up a little bit after some reviews. So I think that's the series that we were talking about. So
it would make sense.
You can never have too many curse words.
This might be for you guys then. Check it out, you know? Angry.
It's like when people review the Poppy War and they're like, it's so weird that in a fantasy based on ancient China. First of all, it's not that ancient, but like, okay, it's like the 1900s, but like, whatever. They're like on a series based on ancient China that they would say words like fuck, and I'm like, but it's not like.
Yeah, it's written for now, like you realize, this, right?
Although the 1920s is not ancient China, like I don't know what people are saying. It's also not
you can't.
It's also not like China.
Well, if you want, you can't ask Americans to have a longer view of the world, right? Because our history is so teeny tiny, you know.
It's true.
Like, what's ancient history to us is like yesterday.
Isn't it even the 20s? I think it's like later than the 20s too. Opium War was. Anyway, whatever. Point is, it's not ancient.
Yanni agrees with Tammie.
First
person put on my ban list. Woo!
Oh my gosh, let me tell you. Okay, so I read the Poppy War before it got popular. Okay.
All right.
Sophia's not like other booktubers.
Before the hype, okay, I was there. But so like I couldn't stand Rin as a character, right? And Tammie loved Rin. Like she was just like, this is my unhinged baby. And then I was just like, I don't know, something about her is just like not vibing with my spirit. And then Rue always complained about Emily Wu Zeller and the way she did Rin. Because like whenever Rin is feeling emotional, Emily, she does this voice. Where she's like, oh my God, and then this happened, and I was feeling traumatized. Like that's how she narrates. And so when I read the third book, I read it on NetGalley, and I was just like, you know what? I really like Rin in this book. Like she's so unhinged, and I'm just like, I think Emily Rue Zeller, she fucked up my enjoyment of Rin. Because I'm just like, when I read it physically, I'm just like, I love her. She's unhinged. I'm rooting for her. But when I listen to that audiobook and she does that whiny little voice, I can't.
No, I tried listening to a bit of the Dragon Republic on audio because I was like, it's just a reread. It's fine. It's fine. It was not fine. Spoiler alert, it was not fine. It was not fine. The voices she does for like Ramza and Noja are so insufferable. Like when she does boys' voices, it's like
she talks like this. This is how she does the voices.
Oh no.
It's so bad. It's so bad. And
it's one of those things where like if you can't do different voices, just don't do it. You know, like when a male narrator does that, hello, I'm a girl, or you know, the opposite would
it's so offensive.
Like, just don't.
But like
you know?
People love Emily Rue Zeller. People name Emily Rue Zeller as one of their top tier favorite narrators of all time. And I'm like,
where?
I have no idea if I've listened, because I've listened to a lot of audiobooks, but we know by this point I don't know who they are. So I don't know if I've listened to them.
You would know. You would know if you heard it.
If you hated your experience, it was probably her.
It was probably her.
Yeah, I loved Rin. I thought she was a great character. And it made sense to me, the way that the things that she did. And so many people have this this hate for Rin. It's like, I just don't, I don't know. I like that character. I didn't like the third book, but.
You didn't like the third book.
I did like the last 20 pages. Let's say that. I did like the conclusion, but there was a lot of wasted pages in there. I did like Rin.
I understand why people don't like The Burning God, because I do feel like it's like one of those things where it's like as a standalone, like narratively, I don't know if it's like perfect, but for me, it's like she writes very much I feel like she writes very much similarly to the way that Ken Liu writes, in which they are very much like theme forward like writers. And so like she's basically like drawing these parallels and like stringing them together in a book. And that's The Burning God. Or actually that's the whole series, but The Burning God in particular. So I feel like it's like if you're not as invested in those like parallels to history, and if you're not as invested in like those themes and you're just there for the narrative, then it's like, yeah, perhaps the pacing could use some work. But I don't care. Personally.
I love that you three have read it. Go ahead, Sophia.
It was perfection to me. I read it. I cried. I cried. I was just completely destroyed. And like, I think, okay, I am such a masochist. Like, when it comes to my fantasy, I love pain. I'm just like, kill everybody, make me suffer. This is what I'm here for. And I cried. Okay.
Oh, I did
definitely
cry.
get that. I get that feeling, you know, when a book makes you feel something, you know, even if that thing is pain, you know. But yeah, I'm the only one that I know that the Poppy War didn't work for me. So
I know a lot. Don't worry, I know a lot of people who didn't like it. Don't worry about it.
Oh really? Oh, they haven't been in my circle.
Love it or hate it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't like it.
That's the thing, though. I don't hate it. Like I actually really liked Rin in the first book. She was like, her character was my favorite part about it, but everything about like the plot and how the gods are involved, it didn't work for me. The way it was set up, the way that it was explored, I was like, this is just not for me. So I never read the second and the third book, but I can see why people like it. Like I'm one of those people where I'm like, yeah, I can see why this is as popular as it is. It's just not. It's not for me.
It's just not for you. Yeah, that's totally fine.
I just wanted to put that up there. That confirmation for something.
For Rob Hayes, the cursing that he went back.
That was the one. Nana says there's such a thing as too many curse words. And Chris says, those books definitely answer that question. They do, yes. Glad I have the paperback that isn't updated. Yeah. More comments on, what was her name?
Zeller?
Emily Rue Zeller. does this with every female character. They act like or sound like angry 10-year-olds. That would take you out.
Yeah.
It's just her voices are so bad.
You're not alone in being a masochist.
Same.
Yeah, make it dark, brutal, visceral, and leave me with emotional damage. I heard that in the meme voice. Yeah, emotional damage. I haven't read it, but Nick Stewart gave kind of a brutally funny review of the Poppy War on his channel. Oh, something I'll check out. Be interested in watching. So that's actually something that just triggered a question for me. When you decide what content to make, right? So this one is clearly kind of maybe not a rant review, but more on the negative side. When you guys decide what to make, we all know that reviews do the worst initially, but they're quote unquote evergreen content, right? So people can come back and search it later. But have you ever just decided, I want to do a review, but it's not worth it? Or I really hated this book and I don't necessarily want to talk about it, but it's good for my views, not views, but algorithm in general. Should I make this anyway? Like, have you guys made any decisions like that for reviews when you post them?
I like to think that I want to do more reviews, and then I just don't. So usually I do a review for like a book that I just like have a lot of thoughts on, whether I liked it or not. Usually it's either like a 5-star book or a 1-star book. That's kind of the general thing. Because like if it's a 5-star book or if it's a 1-star book, like I just have a lot of feelings about it, and I need to put it out there in the world. But I don't necessarily like read a book just to shit on it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a big fan of that type of content for myself, because like I'm like, if I don't like a book, I'm just not going to finish it.
For me, I've only done 2 dedicated reviews on my channel. And the only reason is because like I love the books so much and I had so much to say. Like I want to do more reviews, but like finding the time, the energy, and then like writing down my notes. And that's like another problem is like I don't always write down my thoughts and feelings. And so like by the time I get around to writing the review, it's like I've forgotten half of the story.
Same. Or it's like if I didn't like decide very early on that I was gonna want to do a review on it, like unless I have naturally just like organically a lot of thoughts about the book, I just won't have enough thoughts to fill up a video. You know what I'm saying? So like whereas like something like I did that review of No Longer Human last week, whenever I posted that. And like the reason why there's so much content, like when I first read the novel, I was just kind of like, it's fine, it's an experience, it is what it is. But then like I fell down the rabbit hole and I like read the manga adaptations and I read the other translation, and I was like, mayhaps I should make a video out of this, because now I feel like I've consumed enough of this book. I've consumed this story 4 times, so like, I feel like
let's get some content out of this.
Let's just like get some content out of these 2 weeks of my life that I lost to this book. But other than that, like usually when I finish a book, like I don't really have that much to say about it that is like non-spoilery, because I also don't like to do too many like spoilers or anything, because then I feel like it's like, who's gonna watch it unless they've actually read it.
Also, I have like this thing where like I'll request books from NetGalley and I'll be like, I'm gonna do a review before it comes out. Never happens. Like
Never.
I still need to read Babel. Like I've had that book on my NetGalley shelf for months.
My God, my NetGalley has been abandoned. There are tumbleweeds going through that at this point.
I'm actually quite proud of my NetGalley. I won't lie. Like my NetGalley score is not bad. I think it's like 90%.
Mistakes were made with the first account, but we learned.
Yeah, 91%.
You did not give yourself a new slate.
I mean, I do still have 4 books that are unread, but it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Like I have a rule. Like I had to give myself a rule. Like when it comes to NetGalley, I can't request more than 2 books. So like I have this and the next book in the Empress of Salt and Fortune series. I forgot what it's called.
Into the Riverlands.
Yeah.
So good. I read it the day I got it. I was like, I got approved. Must read.
Yeah. So like those 2 are sitting on my shelf. So like I can't request any more books until I've read and reviewed those. Like I know. If I go down the rabbit hole, there is no saving me.
Listen,
Oh, I went too crazy in the beginning, and I'm still paying for it. So there's no saving the percent ratio at this point. It just
I feel like it's like once you start slipping, it's like a very quick descent into, because that was my last one. I was just like, oh, I'm at like 50%. Let me just get it up. I got it up to like 60%, and then it was just like, because you get confident, right? You're like, I'm on a roll, and then you go and you request books.
You are like, I'm caught up. It's fine, you know.
I'm on a roll. I just read 2 arcs in a row. Look at me go, and then you just start requesting stuff, and then it just like. And then very quickly you're like, oh, kidding. I have like 10 unread books and my ratio is 30. Like,
and then publishers will still approve you. Like, why are you approving me when your ratio is 40%? Like,
the most annoying thing is when they approve you like 2 days before it comes out. And I'm like,
no, I've had
them approve me 3 months ago.
I've had them approve me like after it came out.
That's
and
so
they
annoying.
took the book off of NetGalley.
So you can't download it.
And I'm just like, wow.
I just have to say, I have to.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, just saying, I have to cycle back what Sophia just said too. It's not. I said it's not the book, it's me, and you're like, no, it's not. It's not me, it's the book. It's not me requesting. It's you approving me like a dumb after not looking at my ratio. What were you gonna say, Tammie? I had to say
I entered a giveaway once, and it was specifically, it said it was a giveaway for an ebook of what's that book called? I think you read it, Taylor, and you didn't like it. Kingdom of Liars? Is that a book?
Kingdom of Liars? That is a book. That is a book. Yes.
Yeah.
It's back. Yeah.
So I entered a giveaway with the publisher, and it specifically said an ebook of, okay? And then I won the giveaway, and they sent me a NetGalley widget. And I was like,
oh, no.
And it was already out by that point. So
you couldn't get it. Oh, my gosh.
What is this?
You were duped.
I was duped.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I've seen some good reviews for that book, but my hatred of the main character could not be undone. So the whole thing was just over for me.
I sometimes get into that mood where I'm like, hate them.
I don't want this person on the page, but it's from their perspective. So.
Me with Mistborn. Like, to be fair, I feel like it's like with Mistborn, it's like I love all the side characters, and they are what makes that series not a like 2-star series for me. But like Vin. Can't stand her. Cannot stand her.
I don't mind her, but she's not like stellar. She's not tippy top character.
She's basic.
She's a Mary Sue.
She's so basic. She's so average. Yeah. Like she has no flavor. Nothing.
It's just like like she has nothing that special about her, but also she's like a Mary Sue, and then like the not like other girls just jumps off the page, and I'm like, I'm over it. I'm so over you. Like. And I hated the romance.
The romance is trash.
Okay.
The romance is awful.
The romance is so bad. So bad. So weak.
I think it's one of those things where Sanderson has his strengths. He really does. But he did not play to them in that series. He did not. Like the attempts at a love triangle was not.
That was so bad.
Like, can we not do this?
The strongest Sanderson ships are the unintentional ones, in my opinion. Like even in Stormlight, like Adolin and Shallan, that is not a good couple. Like Adolin and Kaladin are the better ship, but they're not intentionally supposed to be it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we with PL, who couldn't be here unfortunately, but he wanted to start reading Sanderson, and so we're doing a deep dive. It was supposed to be in September, and I'm like, PL, look, listen, I have not done he read the book, and I was like, I don't even have to read the books, I just have to gather everyone. I was like, I didn't do my part, so this is happening in October now. But yeah, bless PL's heart. He's like, I'm ready. I'm like, that is wonderful. But
it's good for you.
Right. So it's, it's not a read along per se. It's just a deep dive for people to talk about it. So I made the reading order for PL specifically, who reads as fast as Esme, and, is a epic fantasy author himself. So I was like, well,
Right.
let me start him with Stormlight, because I am not starting this man with Mistborn. Like,
No.
I'm not doing that to him. So, because I think it is Brandon Sanderson's weakest work, Mistborn Era 1, in all of the Cosmere, personally.
All of the Cosmere. Interesting.
I love Elantris, so yeah. I know. Sophia hates it, right? We've had this combo.
So
yeah.
I mean, Way of Kings was my first Sanderson, so I think it's a perfectly fine entry point.
Same here. So
I tend to recommend
Warbreaker
now as an entry point to Sanderson. I think that's my go-to rec.
Warbreaker, she was fun. She was cute.
I love Warbreaker.
It's fun.
I love it.
The plot twist is great in that book. So
the cover is hideous, but it's fine.
I'm not a fan of the US covers. Yeah.
Brandon Sanderson gets some of the ugliest covers.
Yeah.
Hold on. You don't like the US Stormlight covers?
They're okay.
They're okay. They're actually pretty good.
They're stunning. I love them.
They're not my vibe.
I hate the UK ones.
Girl,
I'm so sorry to your whole collection. I
like
hate
both.
The UK. I generally speaking, I don't like the style of cover that's like mostly black and white and then like a foggy single color. Like, I hate it. I think it's so ugly. Like, even like the Poppy War series, the white background covers, hate them. That's why I have all the paperbacks. I just think it's so boring. At the risk of being like, I don't know. I don't like them. It's not my vibe.
We disagree on something. Yay!
Look at this. Look at
yay!
us.
I actually
We're
like
known
both.
for twinning.
But I love the Stormlight US covers. I think I just really like that like classic fantasy mass market paperback cover.
And it's so floppy. Like, the paperback is just
the floppy can't be beat.
I have them on mass market paperback, so
girl.
I love
if you say words, I like mass market paperback on my channel.
They're my favorite form factor.
You've texted it to me, but you haven't said it out loud.
My favorite form of physical reading.
I am in physical pain.
But they're just so cute and small and like perfect size.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I will say I really hate the newer mass market paperbacks that are like skinnier and taller. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I haven't picked up a mass market paperback in ages. So I have no idea. Actually, I might. I think I accidentally got one.
Let me find an example.
Like this, maybe. She's gone.
Yes. Yeah. Correct. I hate it. Despise. Like, everything was fine with the old form factor that was like shaped like a brick, and then this is like, why? Nobody's hands are that long.
It's a lot.
No, but nobody's hands are that long and that skinny. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Oh man. So, do you guys have a format that you hate? Like, for me, it is mass market. But do you guys have a format that you're just like, I can't? This reading experience is ruining the book.
Actually,
I haven't read a mass market in so long that I don't even know.
The big size.
I used to be, like, for me, I'll read physical, ebook, audio. Like, I'll do all, and like, I enjoy it. For collecting purposes, hardbacks.
I'm not a hardback
person. For reading, paperbacks. Like, I will collect multiple editions. Like, I am this person. So I keep the hardbacks on my shelves looking pretty, and then like I'll either get the ebook, paperback, or audio version. I have a problem.
To destroy.
You're
not alone, though. I know Steve does that too, right?
Yeah.
Tammie, remember how I said I wasn't buying? Okay, I was having a conversation with Tammie, and I was like, I'm proud of myself. Babel came out. I didn't get any of the special editions. I got 3. I got 3.
And you just said you had never read it. You hadn't read it yet.
Tammie was like, I'm so proud of you. Now she's just judging me.
It's fine. You know what? It's fine. Babel is a good exception to the rule, I feel.
I was so proud of myself, too. I was like...
you almost made it. You were so close. Well, I know Steve's rule is if he gets a signed book, right, then you have to get another copy that you read, right?
Yeah,
Oh.
don't touch the signed copy.
That's
Yeah,
smart.
it's put away. Can't touch it.
Yeah, in a safe space.
I don't
right?
think I have any duplicates
I have
in my
multiple.
collection.
It's bad.
Yeah.
I don't think I do. I'm not a duplicate person because I have like very limited space. So it's like if I already own a book, then I own a book. Like it's fine.
My
The only one
problem.
I've considered getting
Healthy.
is like
Just stop clicking.
See, Tammie is smart though. I'm not. Okay. I also have limited space. Like the 3 bookshelves, I have no room.
But you have a lot more limited space than my limited space.
Also true.
Like,
And he said, I should get a mass market for my collection so I can have one of every format in my collection. I know Taylor loves that idea.
I love mass markets. I have a special shelf for my mass markets, but it's like just like a smaller shelf and only mass markets fit. So that's where I keep all my mass markets.
But like, if you have different editions of a series within the same series, that is hard. That's really hard for me. Like if you have like a hardback and then a paperback and then a mass market in the same series, that's rough.
I don't. Unless it's like a trade paperback to a hardcover, like I don't usually mix like that. If I have a mass market, I will wait until the mass market comes out to buy it.
Mass markets hurt my soul.
Or I'll switch to ebook like halfway through the series.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dandelion Dynasty, I only own the first 2 in paperback, and then I just switched to ebook for the last 2. Also, because they changed. I can't talk about it.
I want to collect the Dandelion Dynasty, but like I'm so late to the hype train. Everything is like mixed matched, and I'm just like, how am I supposed to collect these?
You got to get the UK editions.
Nothing matches.
Yeah, you gotta wait until the UK small paperbacks come out, and then you'll have like a full set.
Yeah, so rude.
That's basically it.
I mean, we all know that how they did him so dirty in the US versions with his covers and his books. They did him dirty.
Because even the paperbacks don't match. The paperback of The Veiled Throne does not match the first 2 paperbacks, and it makes me so angry. So angry.
I remember it went viral. His spines, like they even messed up like the spine.
The spine is so bad.
Black, 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 red. Like what? Why? Literally, why? It's just that they have to know what they're doing at that point because that's just trolling. I have the Legends of the First Empire in paperback, and they're this weird, tall mass markets, and I honestly couldn't read them. They made me mad and took all the joy out of my reading experience.
The tall mass markets are awful, truly.
And then mass markets were nice in school because I could just shove those in a backpack and not feel bad if it got a little scuffed up. That's true. I have some rough like now. Mass markets. That was when I was young and didn't have my own money to buy the books that I wanted.
She's like, I was spending other people's money. That's fine.
Oh, I will.
I still don't really like. I just don't like spending money in general. So I just like usually I just spend the least amount of money I can on a book, and that's what I will get, the cheapest edition.
Because she's smart.
Because I'm
on the other hand,
because I'm cheap.
I guess going off of that though, and like our collections, and clearly we have different priorities, for our collections. Is there like, what's the prize point of your collection? Not necessarily the most expensive, but what is like the one thing in your collection where you're like, I adore this. I'm so happy I have this. Do you guys have one or two like that?
It is my signed and personalized arc of Jade Legacy.
Ooh.
It is like my one and only prized possession. Like if there were ever a fire in my building, I would grab that book and go.
The book in Kava, right? And then you're out, right?
Exactly. So. Just like book in one hand, little carrier in the other hand.
Yep.
Laptop, who needs that? Just be my signed Jade Legacy arc.
That's amazing.
Maybe my Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of Monstrous, and also
and also what?
And also my copy of the Poppy War trilogy, the Lumacrate edition.
Those are nice.
They are nice with the stenciled edges, right?
Yeah, and a reversible.
This thing.
Yeah, You know what I mean?
Ooh, all right, the specs. Do you have one, Steve? That's a prized possession of yours?
I don't think so. Probably the only thing would be the Drawn Kingdom, copy of the Drawn Kingdom. Yeah, that'd probably be my favorite. Just because I know PL and we spend so much time together that having a book signed by him is special.
It's special,
so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say that signed and personalized edition for sure of the Drawn Kingdom for me. Of course, the Broken Binding editions, all of them, just because it's impossible to get on that list now. So every time I get a new book from that subscription, I'm like, ooh, you know. But actually, I would have to say this one here, which is a art collection from one of my favorite artists that is signed and is like impossible to get. Hayato got it for me on like a secondhand like Japanese website.
Nice.
So that's probably the one, but it doesn't really hold much value to English book readers, so I'm never selling that, but I'd say that one. Wow,
I have like
always
this.
goes so fast. Go ahead.
Like I have a problem when it comes to special editions. I haven't read Cassandra Clare in decades, in years. I'm still buying her special edition. Every time, oh my gosh, I would do a book haul on my channel and I'd be like, hey, listen. I'm like, I know I have a problem.
Yeah. I'm also just such a sucker for special editions. I really am. And I was on the hunt for Daughter of the Moon Goddess, the Illumicrate one. Resellers have lost
their minds.
Their goddamn minds. $350 for that book. And I'm like,
wow.
Excuse me? Is this now leather bound? Like,
This
what is
better be made of
special
gold.
about
The most
must be.
ridiculous thing I've seen is I like followed someone on Instagram that I knew got that book for free and was selling it for like over $100. And I was like, you got it for free. At least sell it for like market retail price. Like,
God.
So I don't know. I was like, that just feels so like icky,
grimy. My thing is, I was looking for, so like I managed to get a hand on the Waterstones edition, which was sold out everywhere for a reasonable price.
Ooh, okay.
And then I got the hardcover, and then I was trying to get the Fairy Loot edition, $300, and I'm just like, I have not reached that level of desperation.
Yeah, it's not worth it. There's no book that is worth that amount of money, in my opinion.
So I'm just, it's gonna stay no Fairy Loot edition.
Not happening, right? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I think I told Tammie this. There was somebody selling that by S.A. Chakraborty, the hardcover.
David Bad trilogy.
The first book. So like, you know how UK editions, they'll print it for a year and then it goes out of print, and so people sell it for a markup. Somebody was selling it for $1,000.
Wow.
I don't think you told me this.
Excuse me.
I'm pretty sure I sent you a link. I sent you a screenshot.
Oh, maybe you did.
$1,000, girl. Look,
$1,000. I'm just like,
it's not worth that. It is
you
really
can pay
not.
rent with that money.
I'll go places, but that is not a place
for your bills. Like,
no, absolutely not. Yanni says, I have an Arc of the Grace of Kings.
God.
Wow.
Oh, that is a prized possession right there.
It really is.
I never buy hardcovers, so my Stormlight US hardcovers are special to me. And I have a signed copy of Empire the Vampire by Christoph, which I also really like. Nice. Signed and personalized hardback of A Drawn Kingdom for me too. Yes, PL. I love all the PL love here. And hardcovers of Threadlight trilogy. Zach Argyle's books, self-pub. Yeah, I think the last one just came out.
I really need to read that series. So back in 2020, Zach actually DM'd me on Twitter and he was like, hey, I saw your review on Sword of Kaigen and I feel like you'll really like my book. And so he sent me an ebook copy and I just never read it. But now I feel like I see it everywhere because I got a recover, like I got a new cover and everything, and it looks really good. And I was like, oh, maybe I should read this. But I feel really bad because at the time, me being like a new booktuber, I was like so gung ho, and I was like, yeah, I'll read it, and then I just never did.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
shame.
It happens.
After page chewing kind of took off, you know, I've had people reach out and say, you know, would you like to read the books? And I just kind of say, you can send me a copy and I would love to read it one day, but I really can't tell you when. You know?
Now anyone who reaches out, I'm like, I'm so sorry, like I don't take review requests. Sorry. But listen, back in the day, early days, 2020.
You were young.
I was young and naive. I was young and naive, okay?
Yeah. Exactly. Because you're like, oh my God, someone's reaching out to little old me. You know, you can't really.
It's like the message wasn't just like a stock message. It was like, I'd watched this review that you did, and I think because you like this theme, you'll like my book. And I was like, wow, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Listen, it's in my shame pile.
Unpopular opinion: leather bounds are ugly. They look like stuffy old Bible books. Well, you're not wrong, but some people like that vibe. So, just like, do you like the stuffy old Bible
I feel like
vibe?
leather bounds need to have like a whole collection to look good. Like it needs to be like a bookshelf full of them. You know?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm like, if you just have the one leather bound, it just looks a bit silly.
I can see that point. Hello, Margaret. Thanks for stopping by. And I know Esme loves Threadlight. So, yeah. Easy to breathe. And to breeze through, the whole trilogy is as big as one Stormlight book.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and we have an OG Ken Liu hype woman here. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, it is midnight for me, so I gotta get going. The time always goes so fast with these, as always. This is a lovely chat. So before we go, we always like to make sure anyone listening or watching it back can know where to find you guys if they want to, you know, find your channels or on your socials after. Anything you've got coming up, anything you want to let people know that you're doing, we'd like to let you give a shout out. So maybe start with Sophia, like before, like the intros, and then go across to Tammie, if that works.
I think we should go first this time.
All right, Tammie, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, you can find me on my channel, Tammie Tries to Read. I'm also on Twitter, and technically Instagram, but I don't really use it, so like don't expect much on that front. I try to post every Friday. I'm restarting my Chinese Lit book club in October, November. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe to my channel if you want updates on that.
Cool.
Okay. So you can find me on YouTube at Fantasy Book Addict. You can also find me on Twitter at Small Baby Mochi. I don't really post frequently, but when I do post, it's quality.
It's a masterpiece.
It is.
But yeah, feel free to follow me on my social media. Bye.
Also, before we go, Steve, just in case people are watching this on my channel and they don't know you, which I can't imagine at this point, but could you let people know who you are, where they can find you?
You can find me at Steve Talks Books on YouTube or pagechewing.com. We have all of our group reads and discussions and stuff there. It is under construction today, so if you visit and it looks funky, I'm working on it, so be patient with me. But that's
thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Okay, we just had a couple last. Where did it go? Here we go. You have to watch the replay. Yes, please do. Please do. And leave a comment. Let us know what you thought. This is so much fun. Thanks for the entertainment, guys. Yes, Esme, thank you for coming by, as always. Yeah, as always. Ooh, just sub to Sophia. I know everyone else. Yes, we love it. This is such an amazing, fun show. I switched those words, but whatever. We're staying up for. Thanks, Lana. Thanks. Not Sophia, marketing strategy. All right. So if you're watching this, you probably already know who I am, but just in case, I am Taylor. This is my channel, May Between the Pages. You are watching Page Chewing, which is a series that I do with Steve and P.L. Stuart, the author of A Drowned Kingdom. You can look for episodes of Page Chewing with authors, booktubers, basically anyone from any sphere of the book world we will have on this series. You can look for episodes on my channel and also on Steve's channel, about twice a month. But thank you for everyone for stopping by, and we look forward to talking with you all later. See you guys. Bye.